Before even that, she was kind of looking at him like sideways, like, I don't really think you're gonna be happy with her. Like she knew something before anyone else even did. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl JD here, back with another video. Today I have another review for you guys. This one is going to be Bridgerton season 2. We're going to be discussing in this video. So I finally got to watch this. I think this is maybe 2 weeks ago now at this point. This got released, I believe, in March. I can't remember exactly when, but it didn't disappoint. I have to be honest right off the bat. Season 1, I actually did I was gonna say reaction, but I did a reaction review video basically about season 1. So you guys are definitely welcome to check that out. I'll try to link it in the video somewhere in the corner, but sometimes I have issues with that if it's not like my channel. So I might end up just putting it in the description. If you guys ended up binge watching season 1 and 2 together, I don't blame you because I honestly did have to rewatch season 1 just to kind of recollect my thoughts and figure out who the heck was who in season 2. I had to watch like the last couple of episodes in season 1 just to be like, oh yeah, this is what happened with so-and-so and this is who, and yeah. I have my computer here right now because I couldn't exactly remember the names of everyone, all the characters in season 2. For the most part, season 1's characters kind of came and crossed over into season 2, but there are a few new people in this season as well. So we're gonna hop right into that, but first, I did want to quickly talk about what happened with the Duke or Simon from season 1, because I never actually got to discuss that because it came so late after I watched season 1 and did that review. I can never pronounce his name. Is it Regé or Regé-Jean? Yeah, anyways, this guy, all right, the Duke, Simon, he basically came out after season 1 and said that he was basically walking away from Bridgerton. He was not going to be in season 2. I have a quote. I want to read it to you guys because I just thought it was so fascinating, kind of funny, and it did come off a little pompous. I'm not even gonna lie, but let me read it for you guys real quick. So he says, it's a 1-season arc. It's going to have a beginning, middle, end. Give us a year. Then it felt like a limited series. I get to come in, I get to contribute my bit, and then the Bridgerton family rolls on. In the beginning, I was kind of looking at it from his perspective. I could kind of understand, like, if it's looking like a limited series type of thing, it'll only be 1 season and then that'll be it. They'll probably make other stories, but you're not really going to be in it like that, so what's the point? But then at the same time, I thought about it a little bit deeper. It's like, as an actor, right, I can understand, obviously, after Bridgerton came out, he kind of blew up. Because now people are asking, like, who is this guy, you know, all that good stuff. And of course it helps that he's good looking as well, right? But with regards to him and this show, I was looking at it from the perspective of, even though you're blowing up now, and even though you thought it was going to be a limited series, it's giving me the vibe that you thought that because now the story isn't going to be about you, or, you know, pretty much encompassing you and Daphne's life, because Daphne is who he's married to in the show, it almost comes across as though, oh, because it's not about you, it's just kind of like, well, screw that, you know what I mean? It doesn't even matter anymore. So it's just kind of like, huh, that's a bit self-centered, you know what I mean? But anyways, I wish him the best. I would like to see what other projects he's working on in terms of like TV shows and movies. But low-key, that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So anyways, I just kind of wanted to touch on that real quick. But now we're going to hop into the show. We're going to talk about this season 2 and my thoughts about it, okay? In terms of the characters, who was rubbing me the wrong way, who I liked or grew to like in this season, felt bad for, all that good stuff, right? So Bridgerton is actually based in terms of the timeline, okay? Because it is kind of like a period drama type of show, right? Or at least it's supposed to be. Anyway, so it's based in Regency era, or the Regency era, in terms of more like European, if you ask me, history, because everywhere else they don't really look at it as Regency era, you know? So it pretty much had a similar storyline to season 1, where we have these girls that come out into society, okay, or presented into society, and they are now looking for matches for marriage, and it's kind of like a coming of age type of thing, basically. And I think they refer to it as the season, or a season, I don't know, something to do with season. But in this particular season now, we have a few new characters. First, we have Kate, okay, aka Katani or Katani, I don't know how to pronounce her name, I'm sorry, but they call her Kate for short. And then you have Edwina, who is her little sister. Edwina is actually the sister that's coming in to be presented, and Kate is the older sister that's kind of overseeing her matches and all that stuff, along with their mom. But we end up finding out that they're actually half sisters. I think that Kate was the product of another marriage before her dad had met and married Edwina's mom. So this is the mom that we now see, basically, just to kind of clarify that a little bit. So they're half sisters, and they end up coming over to London. I believe it's London. Anyways, they end up coming over, I believe from India, and they're basically looking for a match for Edwina. And we pretty much see a transpiring of the storyline where Edwina ends up trapped in a love triangle, low-key. Okay, she didn't ask for it. She didn't ask to be put in this, but it just happened. And really and truly, it's because a lot of people weren't speaking up, weren't sharing their feelings. Kate, Anthony, you, okay, y'all two, them two were a mess, okay? Like, their characters were a mess. It wasn't necessarily because they were trying to be, it just was because they were trying so hard to be who they weren't. They knew good and well they wanted each other, basically, okay? But we gonna hop into it. We gonna get in, right? Like I said in the beginning, Daphne and the Duke, they're supposed to be married and tucked away, but we see Daphne every now and again with their baby. Now we have her little sister, Eloise, I think is her name, right? Eloise, yeah. So she's now being presented into society, and now we also have Edwina and a couple other young ladies that are trying to look for somebody to marry, hopefully. But in terms of Eloise, though, she's just not into this at all. She would rather be anywhere else. But Edwina is the complete opposite. She, you know, for the most part, have been groomed in a certain way to pretty much be the best wife and lady, okay, that she could be. She ends up being picked as the queen's diamond of the season. So of course everybody's eyes were on her, thankfully, because Eloise was like, please don't look at me. She just, like I said, just didn't want to be there. When we finally get into Kate's story, unfortunately, Anthony ends up meeting Kate first in the forest. They have their little rendezvous with their horses trying to compete with each other. And that's the first time that they meet, and Anthony was low-key just kind of spitting from that. So we finally get to meet Edwina shortly after that. He finds out that Kate is her sister. And now that Kate actually knows Anthony's identity, he's a lord, so he's a big to-do, right? But they find out about each other, who they're connected to, yada yada. And Kate makes it a really big deal in terms of Edwina, because Anthony, I guess, you know, tries to end up wooing to some extent Edwina instead, because he's trying to, in some weird twisted way, convince himself that he can marry Edwina and that he'd be okay with the characteristics and things that she brought to the table, which, you know, I thought she was a really cool chick, even though she wasn't as rough around the edges as Kate was, because I feel like a lot of people, they tend to bash and demonize being feminine or just a little bit more polished in a way, and I don't think that should be the thing. Of course, women should be able to do what they want to do, but I think that both should be looked at as being a part of being a woman, because some women, they are going to be a little bit more rough on the edges, and some women, they just like being that delicate flower, you know what I'm saying? So either way, like I said, we end up in this love triangle, right? So we're going to talk about this because Anthony Anthony, he was trying so hard to basically look at Edwina as a possible marriage match that he also ended up intertwined with Kate even deeper. So Edwina, unfortunately, was just kind of thrown into this triangle without even knowing. But every time that Kate would try to explain her feelings to her, she would always get cut off. Or for example, that one time they were outside because they got invited to the Briderton household, Anthony basically runs and proposes to Edwina before Kate could even express herself and say, oh, this is what's happening right now. These are my feelings. So she never even gets a chance to come clean. Now that Anthony and Edwina are pretty much engaged, all of Anthony's family members are looking at him like, my guy, really and truly, you know good and well she is not your type. She's a nice girl, but you know good and well you can't see yourself actually being happy. And that's pretty much what his mom was saying, his sister Daphne was saying, and he kept trying to take it out on them. And Daphne, I think this was at some type of party or something like that, she had caught them, well, I'm saying them, Anthony and Kate, pretty much about to kiss or, you know, whatever. And then right before the wedding, she just was like, Anthony, we need to have a heart-to-heart conversation, my guy. Of course, their father ended up dying really early on, so Anthony, as the oldest son, had to pretty much take on the Lord duties and make sure that everything was running smoothly with the family, their finances, and that's a lot of pressure. Like, I feel like with the oldest sibling these days in general, I mean, of course, back in the day, the son would accumulate all that responsibility, but when it comes to these days, the oldest in general, regardless of the gender, whether it be a guy or a gal, in terms of responsibilities, a lot falls on your shoulders because now you're looked at as someone that is responsible and you can handle any and everything that the family has to deal with. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And I can understand when people say, you know, you don't have to assume those roles. You don't have to take on that responsibility. But at the same time, if you don't, your family would probably look at you kind of sideways, you know? So in that moment, it's like you kind of have to choose, be like, okay, myself, my family, I don't know. Either way, I could understand and sympathize with Anthony in this position. It was a lot. Of course, now with the whole marriage thing, it was even more pressure because from season 1, he was messing around with women, but really and truly, he needed to find someone to marry ASAP before people started looking at him as like a, not a spinster, but I guess the male version of a spinster. But he was being pressured to marry from season 1. So I knew that storyline was gonna cross over into season 2. I felt the pressure. I felt the pain for him, honestly. But at the same time, it's like, be truthful to yourself to some extent. You have your family. I understand that you feel as though you need to make sure that you don't disappoint them, but at the same time, I feel like from at least the vibes that I was getting from his family members, they didn't care. They just wanted to see him happy because he had looked so unhappy for so long. And Daphne was kind of the only one, well, besides his mom anyway, that was looking at kind of that relationship and tension between Kate and Anthony before she even really caught them doing, or at least looking as though they were doing something that they weren't supposed to. Before even that, she was kind of looking at him like sideways, like, I don't really think you're gonna be happy with her. Like she knew something before anyone else even did. Surprise, surprise, everything ends up crumbling to the ground on their wedding day. Edwina and Anthony at their wedding, we end up finding out that him and Kate finally had a little thing going on, and Edwina decides to walk away. Of course, she was really upset, in terms of Kate not telling her, but at the same time, it's like, I can understand with Kate being her older sister, she feels again the need to be that mom figure for her and basically step in because their dad had died, and I can understand wholeheartedly. And I think that Edwina was just kind of looking at it from a really selfish and kind of hurt place, and she wasn't really seeing things from her sister's perspective. So I'm happy that they finally worked that out, but it was just so much selfishness like kind of whirling around during the season where it was just kind of like, I don't understand how you can't understand why these two can't really explain or express themselves, you know? I think the connection between Anthony and Kate kind of formed not because of necessarily the characteristics that they kind of found and liked in each other. I think that was also a reason, but I think one other reason that they really ended up connecting was because of their kind of mutual feelings with regards to responsibility and family and having to do this and having to do that, and basically be kind of married to duty in a way and not to their desires and dreams and all that stuff. So I think that's what made them connect on that level and made them connect on a deeper level. They ended up getting married at the end. Happy about that, but at the same time I really wish that they had just avoided all of this mess. But then at the same time, there wouldn't be a Bridgerton without it being slightly messy, right? And when we also talk about slightly messy, we also have to talk about Lady Whistledown. Julia Andrews, she's the narrator. She's basically Lady Whistledown's voice. But we end up finding out that the actual Lady Whistledown was Penelope. Penelope! You remember in season 1 when Penelope and Eloise were trying to figure out who Lady Whistledown was? I was trying to figure out why they had this scene where she was in the carriage and she was basically unveiling herself in this cloak. And she had the smile on her face as if like she was maybe working with Lady Whistledown, but we find out that she's actually Lady Whistledown. And again, like I said, with the whole selfishness, Eloise ends up finding out that Penelope was pretty much Lady Whistledown, right? And of course, I think this was after Penelope had wrote a piece about Eloise seeing this guy that she wasn't supposed to be seeing without somebody to basically watch over her, you know, or escort her wherever she was going. She ended up seeing that dude, and in order for the queen to look at Eloise as a non-factor, because the queen ended up looking at a bunch of the young ladies that were presented during the season trying to figure out who Lady Whistledown was, because she had wrote a lot of scandalous things about the queen and her decisions about things and all that stuff, yada yada. So the queen was trying to figure out who it was, and she narrowed it down, or at least her helpers maybe narrowed it down to one person, and it was Eloise. And she took Eloise into her carriage, they had a chat, and she was threatening Eloise basically. And Eloise was like, I don't know what you're talking about, because she wasn't Lady Whistledown. We end up finding out, of course, because Eloise and Penelope are really good friends. Penelope ends up finding this out because Eloise tells her, but Penelope's like, okay, instead of you trying to do something rash, just wait for Lady Whistledown, aka her, to print something out to help with the whole situation. In the end, unfortunately, to protect Eloise, Penelope did have to, unfortunately, write something kind of scandalous about Eloise so that the queen would write her off as a possible suspect. In the end, Eloise, you know, she is kind of upset about the whole situation, and they exchanged some words, unfortunately. I hope in season 3, maybe, if there is a season 3, that they reconnect as friends and that Eloise can understand where Penelope was coming from, because I really think she was just trying her hardest to protect herself and also protect her friends. Like, there was no way to do both without putting that piece out there. That was the best way to fix that problem. So I think in the end, Eloise would probably forgive her, but it might take some time. But I really do feel bad for Penelope in terms of what had transpired at the end, because she really liked Colin, I think that was his name, another Bridgerton, and he was really annoying me this entire season. You could clearly tell Penelope's very much so interested in you. They were writing letters to each other, and it's like, no one's going to take that amount of time, even if you have really good friends. No one is going to put that amount of energy into a friendship unless they see something else with you, in my opinion. If you are a guy and a girl, even though I do feel like guys and girls, sometimes they could be friends, but for the most part, I don't think so. That's just my opinion. But I feel like someone ends up crossing the line at some point. You know what I mean? But with Colin and Penelope, Colin never got it. He never got it. Everybody around him kept saying, stop trying to chase the past. Like, you're not gonna find what you're looking for in the past. You know, if you're looking for someone that loves you, look in front of you. Penelope's right there, but he just couldn't see it. And even in the end, which was kind of sad and I felt bad, but they just kind of left it there and left us hanging. But Colin was talking to his friends and he basically said in a nutshell, you know, I would never ever date, well, not date, but court, I guess is a better word for that time period. He would never court Penelope. He would never see her as a love interest. So of course she took that really deep, and that would hurt me too, because you're thinking that you guys are forming a really nice friendship. Eventually Colin's going to see what you offer and bring to the table and all that stuff, but he never actually sees it, and it's looking as though he was, but he was pretty much pretending. Or maybe he wasn't. Okay, theory, maybe he wasn't, because guys, they like to act differently in front of their friends. He was with a group of friends at the time when he said it, so in the back of my mind, I think in season 3 there might be something, but I think he would really have to explain himself for that statement, because that was hurtful. But at the same time, like I said, guys act very different in front of other guys. It's kind of crappy sometimes what they would say about women, but it's just very fascinating to watch them, you know, interact with each other, and then how they would interact with their spouses and girlfriends. It's very different, you know? But either way, you guys, I really think season 2 was actually pretty good. Not as intense as season 1, in my opinion, but I think that the romance side of things was a little bit more on the PG-13 level. But this season, season 1 was probably a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more out there in my opinion. I think with this one, it was kind of like PG-13-ish, in that range. I really like the developments of the characters' lives in this one. Like I was saying, I really do think that it was very frustrating watching a lot of the characters not be able to express themselves and how they were feeling. But without that, I feel like there wouldn't be a little bit of drama. So yeah, without that element, it wouldn't make Bridgerton, you know? Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, smash the like button down below. Let me know your thoughts on season 2. Also, if you would like me to watch anything in particular that you think I might enjoy, let me know down in the comments as well. Or you can send them to my DMs. My socials are in the description, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.